and welcome, friends, to the Magical Moms podcast. We are so excited because today is season 2, the episode premiere of season 2, and we're going to be talking about something very important that we get asked a lot, and we're going to be sharing all our tips and tricks to navigate lines at Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We are back with this super hot topic. Then a question that we just get so often. So how do you skip the lines at Disneyland, and how does Lightning Lane actually work? You know, Lightning Lane can be really tricky. It's even tricky sometimes for Lindsay and I. So we are here to break it all down for you to make your next Disneyland, a Lightning Lane experience, super duper smooth.
Yes. And before we get into it, make sure to follow us on all the social channels. We are at Magical Moms Podcast on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. If you want to watch our episodes, we do offer that as well at youtube.com/Disney content, so you can see things that we share there. And if you want to follow us individually, I am Lindsay and I'm chasing magic daily on all the socials.
And I'm Bridget, California Disney Bliss, also on all the socials.
Yes. And if you like what you're hearing, what you're seeing, please give us a review. That is so helpful for us. It helps our podcast get out to more parents, more people that go to the parks, so that they can have a magical experience too. So leave us a podcast. You can leave it on Apple, Spotify, or you can DM us a review as well. We appreciate that so much. And speaking of reviews, we actually have a number of new reviews. I think we had, oh my gosh, I don't even, probably like 10 to 15 new reviews, but we're not going to read them all. We'll start with one here from Lisa NSH. She gave us a 5-star review on Apple and said, great idea. And she said, a fun way to get updated on what's happening in the parks. Enjoyable, uplifting, and informative. Exactly what I need to get ready for a trip or just hear what's new. Thank you, ladies. Well, thank you, Lisa. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you. And then we got another cool one. It is 5 stars from Disney Mom Magic, a must listen for Disney fans. And Disney Mom Magic wrote, I absolutely love the Magical Moms podcast. The host brings such fun, warmth, and insider knowledge to every episode. It feels like chatting with friends who share the same passion for Disney and theme parks. I especially enjoy how they mix in breaking news, helpful tips, and their own real mom perspectives. It makes the episodes both informative and super relatable. Whether you're planning your next trip or just want a little extra pixie dust in your day, this podcast is such a joy to listen to. Thank you so
Disney
much,
Mom Magic.
Disney Mom Magic. That's very,
so sweet.
very sweet. Very sweet.
These reviews really mean so much to Bridget and I. We really appreciate it. And it's just really helpful. So thank you for helping us out. And we want to give a shout out to our Patreon fam, which we're going to talk about in just a minute here, because we had our first in-person Patreon meetup, which was so much fun. But before we do that, if you want to be part of our Patreon group, so inside our private Patreon family group, we have things like a private Facebook group you can be part of where you can meet other Disney adults and Disney loving people. We offer tip sheets. So a lot of the things that we talk here on the podcast, we actually have a tip sheet for it as well. So if you're more of like a visual learner and you want to look at something, we have those for you in the Patreon group there. We also have, what else do we have? Well, we have virtual hangouts. We have in-person hangouts. There's just a lot that we offer in there. So if you want to join that, we have the link down below in the show notes, or you can go to patreon.com and search Magical Moms Podcast. And with that, we want to shout out, we have a number of new Patreon members. So we want to welcome Jera, who was at our meetup yesterday. She's incredible. Jamil, Stacy, Chanel, who was also there as well, Monique, Michelle, who was there, and Megan, who was there as well. Yeah. So a lot of new members, and they all came out, most of them came out to come to the meetup, which was really cool. And if you're not a mom, don't worry. Dads, adults, aunts, uncles, you guys can all be part of the Patreon group. We actually did have 2 men at the meetup yesterday. We had a husband and a boyfriend who hung out with us and did all the things. It was so much fun.
Actually, we had 3. We had 2 husbands and a boyfriend.
That's right. You're right. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that was it. We had so much fun. So do you want to share a little bit about our meetup yesterday?
Yes. Okay. I am still smiling from yesterday. Really. It was that much fun. I know, Lindsay, I can speak for you when I say this. I was so honored to have everybody show up. It really was a wonderful moment to have all these people, there with us, and we were just walking around the parks, and we had so much fun. We rode some rides, we had dinner together, and just listening to all their different stories and where they're from. Some people came from pretty far away.
Yeah.
One person came from Michigan, another person, a couple people from San Francisco, the Bay Area. It was it really, really warmed my heart, just to like see this little community that this podcast has built, and just have everybody, kind of like, get introduced to each other and make some other Disney friends. That is just, I just had the best time. And just seeing that happen right before my eyes was really, really, really remarkable.
Yeah. And I have to give a shout out to Chanel, who was there, because we found out we are both former Lions, LMU Lions. So we had that nice little connection. We also had another, our pasts were like intertwined from way back in elementary school, which is kind of crazy. Cool. But yeah, it was really special. It was really cool to meet her. So thank you so much to everyone that came out for the podcast meetup. And don't worry, we will have more to come. We were actually just discussing with our producer to possibly have a holiday, like Christmas time one. So that will be really fun. The other thing we want to mention too here, we are, as we enter into season 2, we are kind of coming up with this new format. So we're going to have, like, every month is going to have a theme. So like this month, we're talking about navigating the lines at Disneyland. So we're going to have 2 episodes where we share all of our tips and tricks. And then we're going to bring in a guest who is going to share their tips and tricks to go with it, and just somebody that you can get to know a little better. Maybe you already follow them on Instagram and you want to know their story. We're going to have guests that kind of add to the conversation. And then the 4th one is going to be really cool because it's where you get to be part of this podcast. So if you have questions about anything that we've shared, or you're curious about something, or you want to add your own tip in, make sure you guys, you can email those to us, magicalmomspodcast@gmail.com. You can DM us on Instagram. And then that's kind of our way to kind of bring you into the episode with us. So we're excited for this first kickoff of all these navigating the lines for season 2.
Season 2, can you believe it, Lindsay?
Yes.
I can't believe this. This is so cool. This is so awesome. I love doing this with you.
Yes.
I really do.
So we're gonna jump right in. We're gonna talk about skipping the lines at Disneyland, how to navigate lines at Disneyland. And the one thing we were talking about before we started recording this was, we're going to share with you guys how to navigate these lines, but also remember that some of the memories you're going to make, and some of the details you may miss if you do skip all the lines. If you're constantly using Lightning Lane, you might miss some of the details that Imagineers put into the queue, or you might miss this time where you have 30 minutes to just hang with your kids and play a game, have a conversation. I still remember, as a personal experience, when Indiana Jones first opened up. I remember going with my uncle and my cousins, and we waited in line for 2 hours. I think it was actually more than 2 hours. But we had so much fun. I still remember getting the little cards, and we were searching for the symbols on the walls, and we were talking, and we were there was so much to see and do. And I know they didn't have Lightning Lanes back then, but those are some of the things that you would miss if you used Lightning Lane for that particular attraction. So just something to think about. There is beauty in the waiting too.
Yeah. I mean, and let's face it, Disneyland is a popular place. There's going to be lines. I mean, that's what happens. Sometimes you get lucky and it's a walk on, but sometimes, you do have to wait in line. I mean, that's kind of the reality of Disneyland.
Yes.
And there are, like you said, lots of really fun things that can come about waiting in a line.
Yeah.
So just take your next Disney day with stride. We're here to help for sure with these Lightning Lane tips and tricks. But yeah, if you do get stuck in a line, you're still going to have fun. You're still going to have fun. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Let's tackle this. Now, Lightning Lane is it's a big subject. It's a big, topic. It used to be called, Genie Plus before this. And before that, we just had paper fast passes.
Yes.
And those were the days. I sound like grandma when I talk to my kids about back in the day, we had paper. I mean, literally they're like, what? Now, of course, it's all modernized. Everything is on the Disneyland app. Lightning Lane, you'll be using the Disneyland app to access Lightning Lane. And because of that, I just want to start off by saying, make sure you have a portable charger with you. If you're doing Lightning Lane on your next Disneyland day, you definitely want a portable charger, because if you don't have access to your phone, you don't have access to Lightning Lane. So there's fuel rods in the park, which are unlimited, swaps, or you can bring one from home. So yeah. So let's get into Lightning Lane.
Good tip. Yes. So we're gonna kick off with all the things Lightning Lane, and then we're gonna get into other ways to navigate lines as well. But we're gonna start with the big one here. We're gonna tackle Lightning Lane. So we want to talk about, there's 2 different types. You have the multi pass and you have the single pass. So that's where I think people initially get confused. So multi pass covers a variety of rides. It's not every ride in the park. I think actually, Bridget, do you know the exact number? I don't off the top of my head.
I do. Disneyland has 13 rides,
wonderful.
and Disney California Adventure has 9
Okay.
rides.
Wonderful. Yeah. So if you buy the multi-pass, that covers all those rides there. The single pass is just, you can buy individually. I actually had somebody in the Patreon meetup last night ask me like, oh, if you do you have to buy the multi-pass to be able to use the single pass or to be able to buy it? The answer is no. There are plenty of times, the two rides you can use it for are Radiator Springs Racers and Rise of the Resistance. And there's been plenty of times where we don't buy the multi-pass, but I've gone with my kids and they want to ride one of those rides. And if it's a special day, we will buy just those individual skip the line passes to go on that ride, which is a huge benefit because those typically have longer lines.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Now, Lightning Lane is something that you add on, right? Either to your Magic Key or to your Disneyland ticket. If you are buying a Disneyland ticket, you can add it on right then and there. But if not, and you're a Magic Key holder, you cannot purchase Lightning Lane until after you walk and enter into the parks, right? And so why I think one of our biggest tips with Lightning Lane is to get to the parks early, because if you get to the parks early, that's when you buy Lightning Lane. That's when you can select your first Lightning Lane experience. Unlike Walt Disney World, where you can choose some Lightning Lane experiences before you even get to the parks, at Disneyland, you can't until you actually get inside.
Yes.
Once you get inside, you can choose your first. So just so you know, Lightning Lane multi-pass, you buy per the day and it's per guest starting at 3 years and up. If you have a child that's under 3, they do not need Lightning Lane whatsoever. So don't, there's no way to purchase it for them because they don't have a ticket, right? And with your Lightning Lane multi-pass purchase, you also get Photo Pass for the day. So you get free, unlimited complimentary photos with Disney Photo Pass photographers in both parks. So take advantage of that because they do take some really awesome photos.
Yes.
And now the price fluctuates per day. It starts usually at $32 a day. And that fluctuates depending on, basically like the busyness of the parks, and how many people are going to be purchasing it that day.
Right.
And like we said, there are multiple Lightning Lane experiences at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure. Single Pass is a separate add-on, so that's a separate purchase, and you can do both at the same time. So if you have a if you have a Lightning Lane a selection at Disneyland, but you want something else, you can have both at the same time, single pass and multi-pass.
Yes.
So that's kind of like the basic there.
Yes. And if talking about the price, if you have a Magic Key, currently, as of the recording of this episode, you get 25% off the Lightning Lane multi-pass. So that's one little benefit of being a key holder is that you do get that discount on the multi-lane or the multi-Lightning Lane.
Yeah, and it's so funny. It's like, it is an add-on, and Disneyland is a very expensive place. I mean, it really is. It's you have to kind of, pick and choose what you're going to be spending on your next Disneyland day. But if you're looking at other theme parks in the area, like Universal or Knott's or whatever it may be, they also have this type of, perk, this add-on perk that you can do to skip the lines. But it's actually much more expensive at these other attractions, at these other theme parks. So when I think about people talking about Disneyland Lightning Lane, yes, it's an add-on. Yes, it's an extra expense. Both Lindsay and I save it for special days. For sure, it's not something that I do at all unless it's like a special, day for us. But if you're going to Universal, their Lightning Lane experience, which is somewhat similar to what Disneyland has, that's $189. Knott's is $74. SeaWorld is $40. So it is a little bit more expensive than Disneyland's, and they also have less attractions. So really, if you're going to Disneyland and this is a day that you've been planning for a long time or you've been saving up for, get the Lightning Lane. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it if you're going for a big day.
Yes, absolutely. And that's when we do it, is when we have like a special day. So it's like our kickoff of summer day. Like we go all out and I buy the things. So yeah, definitely worth it. I agree. Yeah. All right, let's talk about some basics with Lightning Lane, because I think we got to, cover that here. Yeah, sure. So you purchase it on your app, and once you've done that, you can choose the first ride that you want to go on. So once you have that reserved, you cannot choose another ride to reserve until one of two things happen. You either, one, scan into the ride that you've already reserved, or two, it's been 2 hours since you made that selection. So technically you can hold like two selections at the same time, but you can only do that if you have not entered that other ride yet. which I know gets a little confusing for some people.
Yeah. And also people, you don't have to ride the attraction, the Lightning Lane attraction, to then choose another one. It's really right when you scan. So for example, if I'm going on Haunted Mansion, I'm using Lightning Lane, and then you scan, and then you have to like walk through the queue to get to the ride. While I'm in that queue, I'm actually choosing my next attraction.
Right.
And so what people do is they kind of like stack. If you get there early enough, you can start like stacking the Lightning Lanes, right? Because like Lindsay said, it's every 2 hours. So, or, right after you actually scan through. So you can just start stacking the rides. And when, in my personal experience, the rides or the attractions that you're going to want to choose first are the most popular ones because they will sell out.
Yes.
You do sell out of Lightning Lane. And when I mean by sell out, I mean that, if let's say you come to the parks at 1 p.m. and you want to use, you want to do Guardians with Lightning Lane, they may not even have any times like reserved times left, right? It might have already gone past the day, throughout the whole entire day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or you might, want to ride it at 4 p.m., but really you're not going to, the next one is at 9:50. So, try to tackle those big attractions first, and then you can kind of start choosing the ones that are not as popular, right? After that.
Yes. And the other way to kind of like stack them in a way is if the multi-lane, gosh, what is it called? Multi-pass, whatever, is separate from the single. So I can have my Guardians of the Galaxy return time, which would never be true for me because I would never ride that. But if I had that one, I can also still buy the Radiator Springs Racers one and have that like for back-to-back times, return times. So those are separate in a way that you can have both at the same time. You don't have to worry about either scanning the other one or waiting those 2 hours. The single ones you can buy and use at any time.
Yes. And also at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, Disneyland is an older park and we have older attractions and rides do shut down. That's just part of Disneyland. That's just part of the experience. They shut down, temporarily for whatever reason, right? And when that happens, you'll get a little pop-up notification on your app. And what it'll say is, oh, you've received a multi-experience pass. So what they've done is they've kind of, in a way, canceled that Lightning Lane choice of let's say it's Haunted Mansion, right? And Haunted Mansion is down for the next couple of hours. You automatically get this multi-experience pass, and when you do that, you can choose any of the attractions that are similar, right, to Haunted Mansion, even if you've already ridden it before. Because with Lightning Lane multi-pass, you can only use it for each attraction one time. So if you want to go on I don't know, let's say Indiana Jones using Lightning Lane, you can only use it one time. Now you can ride it again, by waiting in line, right? But you can only use it with Lightning Lane one time. So if you get a multi-experience pass, you could probably ride it again, right?
Yes.
Because that is, if that's something that you want to do, then you can use it for that. Or you can still use it for that same attraction in case the attraction opens up again.
Yes.
But that's actually kind of like, when people get really down when, an attraction, shuts down temporarily, and I totally get it. But you can use it, to your benefit when you get the multi-experience pass.
Yes. And what I will say too is that, and I think you kind of touched on this, is that the multi-experience pass is only good for rides of the same tier. So I actually learned that the hard way. I didn't know that like the first time, and I tried to go use it on a ride. They're like, oh, this is a different tier or whatever. And I was like, oh, well, how do you know? So there's a way when you pull up that multi-experience ticket, there's a little button that says like see available attractions or something like that to that extent. And if you click on that, it will tell you what you can use that multi-experience pass for. So like, it'll give you a list of attractions and you can use it for any of those.
Yeah, and that's great. It's kind of great to have, because then, like, I don't know about you, but like with my children, they like the same attraction. They want to go over and over and over again. I'm like, oh, we can't, but with a multi experience pass, you can.
Yeah.
Also, something that, just know that when you pick a Lightning Lane experience, you can modify that.
Yes.
You don't have to completely hold on to that. You can modify it. And sometimes when you modify it, you can find a better time, a return time. So, always be kind of like checking, your app, making sure that, your Lightning Lane, like that's the one that you want, that's the one that you're going for. And sometimes if you just kind of modify it, you kind of find a better time, that suits your schedule better.
Yeah. Or even if you need to modify it, like your group's hungry, so now you got to go eat. You can change your time to if it's available, you can change it to a little bit later, which is always really helpful too. Because as we know, plans are always changing when you're in the parks.
Yeah, and speaking of that, my family and I, what we do a lot of sit down meals at Disneyland. We'll do the Plaza Inn, Minnie's character dining experience, or Storytellers, or Lamplight Lounge. And sometimes when it comes to restaurants, they or different experience. Like if you get stuck on the Disneyland train or the canoes, or don't get stuck on the canoes, but, if you get stuck on something, right? Yeah. And you miss that Lightning Lane return time, just speak to a cast member, tell them what happened. You were at the character dining experience at Plaza Inn, or you hopefully not were stuck on the canoes in the middle of the river. Just tell the cast member
really great
that,
about,
and they're really great. They totally understand the way that the system works, and things happen. We've had multiple times where we were supposed to go back to Lightning Lane, and we had to have a potty break. We had to have a situation. We have 3 kids, so things happen, right?
Yes.
They will work with you, and they'll show you how to recover that time lost, for sure.
Yes. And then let's talk about some of our best tips for Lightning Lane specifically. One of them was what we kind of already mentioned, was about stacking them. So if you wanted to wait the morning, you want to do some of the rides that don't have Lightning Lanes, and then kind of tackle those Lightning Lanes in the later evening, you can stack based on what we said earlier. And also another good one is, and I've done this too, you set an alarm. So as soon as I make a reservation or reserve a time, whatever, I set an alarm for 2 hours later, so that I know that's exactly when I can, make my next one. Because remembering it in your head is just not going to happen. Something's going to be going on. You're going to forget, and then you're going to lose that opportunity to book your next one when you have that one waiting. So definitely set an alarm for 2 hours later.
Yeah, and that's such a good tip, because Disneyland is a time warp. It's like a casino. They don't really want you to know the time. So you don't have windows and stuff like in casinos. Disneyland, you walk in and you're like, oh yeah, it's 9 a.m. And then the next time you look at your watch, it's 1.
Yeah.
It is such a time warp to me. It really is. I have people ask me all the time, they're like, how can you spend 12 hours at Disneyland? I'm like, because it feels like 4.
Yes, it flies by.
So the alarm is definitely vital for that. And now this might be a little bit of a hot take when it comes to Lightning Lane. And Lindsay, I don't know if you agree or not.
Okay.
But my take on is, if you're going to arrive to the parks after 12, I don't think Lightning Lane is really worth it, because you definitely like Lindsay was just talking about stacking. You want to definitely stack those rides. If you want to make the most out of the money that you're spending on Lightning Lane, you definitely want to get there as early as possible, because like I said, those attraction wait times for Lightning Lane is just going to grow and grow and grow. So maybe you have a couple of, single pass of course is different. I'm talking about the multi pass. If you're showing up later in the parks, it's just, you're not going to get your money's worth. And if that's fine, if you don't care about not getting your money's worth, then do it. But for me, I try to stretch my Disney dollar as much as I possibly can when I'm in the parks. So we only get Lightning Lane when we're going to be arriving early.
Yep, 100%. I am actually right on track with you on that. We will only get it in the morning, because I have noticed, I actually made the mistake one time of buying it later in the afternoon, not checking the return times before I did that. And I think we were only able to use it for 1 or 2 rides. And that to me is not worth it. I'd rather buy it and be able to use it for 5 or 6 rides. So I would agree with that. Get it early in the morning, and then just know, I think you mentioned this too, you cannot make any of your reservations to return until you have scanned into the park. So that's a big one. And there's also a rule, let's say your starting park is Disneyland, it won't let you schedule anything early at DCA, but it will allow you to do it for 11 or later. So if you find that return time for 11 or later, it'll let you book that.
Yeah, exactly. And now when we talk about prioritizing popular Disneyland attractions with Lightning Lane, pretty much the studies show, right, that the most popular rides to get with Lightning Lane early on, Indiana Jones Adventure and Space Mountain. So if those are 2 attractions that are important to you, get those first. And at Disney California Adventure, Guardians and Toy Story Midway Mania. So if those attractions are important to you, get those first as well.
Yes. And that's the other trick I would add to that is, if you're going to rope drop, first see if you can get on that ride with just by rope dropping and not having a long line. And then you can save that Lightning Lane and be able to ride it a second time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like what we do is like when we get Lightning Lane first thing in the morning is we, choose the first Lightning Lane attraction. And then while we're waiting, we ride other attractions that don't have a long wait time, or we eat. It's usually eating. I mean, we're eating. And we eat a lot at the parks. But like, so, use that time, to your benefit while you're waiting, because there are other attractions that don't have long wait times.
Yes. And another thing to be very aware of is most, not all, most of the rides that utilize multi-lightning lane pass do have height requirements. So you want to make sure if you're buying this for a child that they actually meet those height requirements. Otherwise, unfortunately, you're going to probably not get your money's worth. I think there's only a couple that have no height requirement. So that's definitely something to consider. You're looking at more of like the e-ticket rides, though there are other ones. There's, It's a Small World is on there. But just be aware that there are height requirements for a lot of these multi-lane, I can never say it, multi-pass lightning lane rides.
I can't say it either.
Yeah. And you know what? Sorry, what I will say to that too is if for some reason you accidentally purchase it and you realize like your child doesn't meet all these height requirements or whatever it is, I have had a very positive experience with, I bought it once and I was like, oh shoot, we're actually not going to use this. And I went to the guest services and we hadn't used anything, and they can see that on your app or whatever. And they were able to give us our money back. So they're they're really good about working with you on that.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's really, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's like another thing is, speaking to your child before getting to the parks, I think is vital, because even if they do meet the height requirements, they may not be an Incredicoaster type kid. They may not really want the thrill rides, right? They may be more like me, where it's, and there are, like the more tame attractions, Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion, Jungle Cruise. They, you can get, Jungle Cruise doesn't have lightning lane.
But Haunted Mansion is
but Haunted Mansion does, and Pirates. Oh, Pirates doesn't anymore. Gosh, Pirates doesn't anymore. They just got rid of it.
Yeah.
So if you're more like me, right? If your child's more like me, then you may not want to buy Lightning Lane for that reason.
Right. Very true. And then we want to talk about I'll let you take this one, the holiday attractions.
Yes. So now during the holiday season, the overlay attractions, they do use Lightning Lane, right? So you have Haunted Mansion Holiday and you have it's a Small World Holiday. Now these are the two big attractions during the holiday season because of the overlay. And I do know people that have purchased Lightning Lane just to skip the line for It's a Small World Holiday, because that line can get pretty backed up, especially at dusk or after the sun sets, because there's a gazillion shimmering lights and it's so beautiful.
Yes.
So, if that is something that's important to you going on one of those attractions, then buy Lightning Lane, absolutely. And, also just for like the Disney, photo pass. I mean, with our Magic Keys, we do get Disney Photo Pass, but if you just have a ticket, you don't. And those photos can be really, really great. We get some really good ones. I know Lindsay and I both do of our families.
Yep.
So it's nice to be in the photo sometimes as the mom, right?
Of course. Yes. We want to be there for the memories too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Go ahead.
So
go ahead.
I have one more thing. I have one more thing to talk about when it comes to Lightning Lane. I will say, it can be a little overwhelming, right? It is overwhelming. I mean, even for Lindsay and I, it can be a little bit much. The last time I had family come in from Philadelphia, we had our whole family. It was 4 adults and 8 children. Okay. And I was the Lightning Lane master, right?
Yeah.
So when you're going with a big group, it can be pretty overwhelming. I will say it was overwhelming for me, and I know this system pretty well. So definitely when it comes to that, if you have a big group or you have like 2 different groups coming together, you definitely want to have one person designated as your Lightning Lane guru, right?
Good tip,
Because if, let's say, you're both trying, like 2 different groups are trying to get Lightning Lanes, you may get separate times, and then you're not riding the attraction together, you're not waiting in line together. And, if you have kids, they're going to be wanting to wait together. So have one person, have your Magic Keys or your tickets go into the other person's account. All they have to do is scan it. And then that one person's going to be choosing Lightning Lane for everybody. Now, this can be pretty stressful for that one person. So you owe them a churro. Okay? You owe them a cocktail at DCA.
I was going to say, a cocktail.
You owe them something. Yes. Okay. Definitely you owe that person big, because it's kind of stressful. But yeah, you're definitely going to want to combine everyone's passes or tickets, so that you can do Lightning Lane and enjoy it together.
Yes, absolutely. All right. I know. So that was, Lightning Lane is a huge thing. It's a huge topic to tackle. So we want to remind you, if you have more questions, please DM us or email us at magicalmomspodcast@gmail.com. We will be happy to answer your questions in this coming episode for this month's theme. I think, so I just looked ahead. We still have like 8 other ways to navigate lines. But I think we're going to have to make a part 2 because Lightning Lane is so big. I feel like we can just leave this as Lightning Lane and then tackle all of the other things that we have to share in our part 2. Does that sound good?
I completely agree.
Yeah.
We're here to help you have the best time at Disneyland. And so, yeah, I think we should save it to part 2 so we can really just get into that subject.
Yes, I agree. So make sure to let us know what questions you have so that we can tackle that there too. We want to thank you so much for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate it. Your support is it's helping us get out to more people. And we've been receiving some really positive feedback on people that have had really great experiences in the park using the tips and tricks we share in here. So we want to thank you so much. And again, if you want to suggest a topic for us, share anything with us, again, you can email us at magicalmomspodcast@gmail.com or DM us on social media. And I'll let you take it from there, Bridget.
Okay, so until next time, we will see you
real
soon. Woo! Season 2.